Found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
Was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just don't have, we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased. How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. He said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yes.
I understand you hate Trump, but this video is insane. Tonight's hearing delivered one of the most uncomfortable moments NPR has faced in years. A whistleblower's allegations of political bias took center stage, and Congressman Jim Jordan made sure they were not brushed aside. This wasn't a theoretical debate about media ethics or abstract journalism standards. It was a direct confrontation backed by numbers, internal statements, and documented editorial decisions. At the center of it all stood NPR's CEO, pressed to explain how a publicly funded media organization could claim neutrality while hemorrhaging trust in listeners. As the questions sharpened, so did the contradictions. What followed was not a shouting match but a methodical dismantling of credibility. This exchange raised one unavoidable question. Should taxpayers continue funding an outlet accused of systemic bias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Maher, who is Uri Berliner?
Mr. Berliner is a former senior editor,
That's all?
a former senior business editor for NPR.
How long do you work at NPR?
I believe he was there just over 25 years.
25 years? Award-winning journalist? Did he win any awards?
Our time did not
Peabody
overlap.
Award? That's pretty important, isn't it?
That is,
So
absolutely.
pretty distinguished journalist, right?
Certainly.
And he wrote a long story about what you do at NPR. Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of
Never?
political bias determining editorial decisions, no.
Well, Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
Was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just don't have, we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased?
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased. How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. He said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yes.
Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out and they said, Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story, and one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake. Definitely impacted the election, or I think it certainly impacted the election. How about the COVID origin story? That's a pretty big story too, right? Mr. Berliner said, "We became fervent members of the team Natural Origin, even declaring that the lab leak was debunked by scientists." Turns out, though, the lab leak is what most people think actually caused the COVID virus.
Sorry, is there a question there?
There is. You guys were 0 for 3 on the three of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. You guys were 0 for 3, and yet you maintain that NPR is not biased?
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Nonpartisan organization. What's happened to your listeners over the last 5 years? Went up, down, or stayed the same?
It has gone up and down and is now going back up.
Well, I thought 5 years ago it was at 60 million. And you said in your opening statement, I think 43 million.
That's correct.
So 43 million now, and it was at 60 million 5 years ago. I can do some math. That looks like it went down.
And is now going back up.
It's now going back up?
Yes, it is.
How much has it went back up?
It's gone up a couple of millions over the past years.
So you went from 60 million to 41 million. Now you're back up to 43 million.
In a year's time, I'm very proud of that growth, sir.
Okay, you're proud of that growth. Okay. But over 5 years, it's went down 18 million.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Should taxpayers subsidize NPR?
I believe that taxpayers subsidize local stations, sir. That is the vast majority of what
I thought you said you got 11 million from Corporation of Public Broadcasting, which is taxpayer funded directly to you, right?
That is to support the public
and
radio
then local
satellite
stations
system.
get it from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, right? They get taxpayer
100
money.
million that goes to the local
100 million goes to
stations.
local stations, and then those local stations buy back programming and content from you. So that money goes to the local stations, comes back to you, gets routed through the local stations, all taxpayer money.
Those fees are actually based on private donations rather than on federal funding.
Well, we all know money's fungible, so some of it gets put in there.
Certainly, we could agree that money is fungible.
What? More money for less listeners. You fired the guy who pointed all this out, who said that you were so biased to the left that you lost listeners, which is exactly happening, and you're here maintaining that, oh, you need to continue to get taxpayer money.
I did not fire Mr. Berliner, sir.
Okay, the guy that left after all that. Understand. Are you fundraising off today's hearing?
Sir, I believe that there was a message that went out earlier today letting people know we were coming in. Yes.
Yeah, and at the bottom of the message it said, donate now, right?
I don't recall the exact
I
language.
can show it to you. Right there it is, donate now. I mean, I'm not against fundraising. We all do it. I mean, I get it. But it's, I assume this fundraising thing is probably going to all the left listeners who are subsidized content by the taxpayers, and that's the
gentleman's
rub.
time is
That's
expired.
the rub. I yield back.
I now recognize Ms. Randall from Washington for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. You know,
Jim Jordan walked into that hearing with facts, not theatrics, and by the time it ended, the contrast between accountability and deflection was impossible to miss. He did not rely on partisan talking points, but instead leaned on the words of a long-serving NPR insider whose credibility could not be dismissed. By citing hard numbers, documented editorial decisions, and audience decline, Jordan framed the issue as one of trust rather than ideology. He gave NPR leadership multiple opportunities to correct the record, yet the answers consistently avoided clarity. That avoidance only strengthened his argument that something deeper was being ignored. Jordan's questioning showed that neutrality cannot simply be declared, it must be demonstrated through actions and outcomes. He reminded viewers that taxpayer funding carries an obligation to serve the entire public, not a narrow political audience. When listener losses were acknowledged, he connected them directly to editorial choices rather than external excuses. His approach stayed calm, methodical, and grounded, which made the contradiction stand out even more clearly. Jordan did not attack journalism itself. He defended the standards that journalism claims to uphold. He made it clear that whistleblowers should be heard, not sidelined, especially when their warnings align with measurable trends. By pressing on funding, he underscored that public money demands public accountability. The hearing showed that Jordan was not seeking headlines, he was seeking answers. In doing so, he gave voice to millions who feel their trust in legacy media has been eroded. Ultimately, Jim Jordan's performance reinforced the idea that real oversight begins when tough questions are asked and not politely avoided.